Guys, this is Lance Reptiles. So this is the blue tongue skink budget enclosure setup. So if you wanna provide the best care you can for your skink, but you wanna spend the least amount you can. This is basically the least amount you could spend anywhere on a blue tongue skink if you want to spend the least overall. So yeah, stay tuned for everything. So first we're going to start on enclosure size. You're going to want to keep a minimum of 40 gallons, 40 gallon tank to 60 gallons. But with blue tongue skinks, it's always the bigger the better because they're very adventurous. They like to explore. And I'd say like if you're getting like a little baby, of course like a huge cage that might get lost in it. So but we're going overall, so I just recommend a 40 gallon because you could keep a baby in a 20 gallon, but then you'd end up spending more money overall because you still need to get them a bigger enclosure as soon as they get bigger because blue tongue skinks, they grow extremely fast. So you're going to want to make sure that you have a good sized cage. So minimum of 40 gallons you can keep them in. 40 gallon breeder is what I'm recommending. Make sure it's a 40 gallon breeder. They can run for around $80 for the cheapest 40 gallon breeder. You could probably get them on sale, PetSmart or something. So if we keep going with blue tongue skink, if you want to go for heating and lighting, first of all you're going to want your cool side. You want a cool side and a hot side. And for the cool side, you're gonna want to keep it between 75 to 85 degrees, and for the hot side, you're gonna want to keep it to 100 degrees, 90 to 100 degrees, and you're gonna want to make sure they have a nice basking spot up there so they can take in all the heat rays and whatnot. And yeah, that's Cairo in there. In case you didn't know, that is my blue tongue skink, Cairo. So yeah, they're gonna want to keep the heating and cool side between those 2 degrees. So basically what you're going to want is for what's called substrate. What you're going to want for substrate, you're going to want something like Eco-Earth would work. There's a lot of different substrates you can use, but the main one you want to worry about is what you're feeding them because you don't want too much impaction to go on. So that's why I use Eco-Earth and bark, but I don't really feed them too much crickets. I stick to a mealworm, but we'll get to that later on their diet. But like it just all depends on what you're feeding them for your substrate. So if we go to now let's move on to the diet. So diet, you're gonna want to keep it. I'm pretty sure it was. You're gonna want to keep the diet 50% of vegetables and vegetables, greens, some nice greens in there. Vegetables 50%. Their diet's made of 50% vegetables, 40% meats, like protein, and 10% fruits. So you're going to want to keep it like that, and yeah. But what I recommend for the diet, feeding-wise, they can eat anything from dog food to chicken hearts, and they can eat mealworms, most greens and vegetables, but I'd stay away from avocado. They can eat eggs. They can eat a lot of different foods. And by the way, guys, I will put their food and diet and everything down in the description below, so if you want to read that, it'll tell you about their food and diet and heating and everything, just in case I missed anything. So yeah, you're going to want to keep it between 50% vegetables, 40% proteins, and 10% fruits. And Cairo usually gets that mix how often you want to feed them is 4 times a week. And yeah. So if we move on to the decor and hiding, you're just going to want at least something, just some stuff they can bask on, pretty much. And for the skink itself, honestly, they can go for a northern. It depends what type you want, but if you're going for a northern, they go for around $150 to $230. A Cairo here was $230, and I spent no expense on him. And honestly, that's the cheapest one you're gonna have to go. Like, this is the whole budget you're gonna have to do. So you're gonna have to spend around $300 to $200, or $200 to $300 if you want the cheapest enclosure you can get. $200 to $300 minimum. And if you get everything good priced. So yeah, I will leave some links as well in the description to basically everything. Like, I'll leave some links to some terrariums you can buy, some cheap terrariums, lighting, and everything you need. So yeah, this was basically the budget for a blue-tongued skink, the absolute least you can do for money-wise. And I hope you enjoyed this video. Please like, favorite, subscribe, and you're watching Lads Reptiles.